Hello there. I am so glad you're here tonight. You are listening to Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine, and I am Kat Hobson, your host. I have got one of my favorite people who's also one of the more eclectic and experienced people and has a whole lot of knowledge about a whole lot of things. And that's my friend Mark Elliott Fultz. He's a metaphysician, which we're going to talk about because I know sometimes that word is a little intimidating to people. And he is actually trained in that. So he is a great person to ask any questions you may have. He is a channel, and he has blown my mind doing that. He is actually really one of the nicest people you'll ever meet, and he's a jam and cook. He even has a book about that. So he has so many books. Let's welcome Mark Fultz.
Howdy!
Hey, how
Mighty
are
glad
you?
to be here.
I'm mighty glad you are here. So I like your video setup. I like the background. That's so
Yeah,
cool.
my old gothic um, dresser. I love it. It
Yeah,
works.
I do too.
It's about
Well,
as old as I
it's
am.
nice. You're a little gothic too sometimes.
I'm a lot gothic, I guess.
You are. Yes, I want to say hey to Lori and Robert in chat. Robert, it's so good to see you. So, I get questions and you're used to my questions because I kind of ramble at you with them sometimes. But a lot
Yeah,
of people get intimidated by words.
yeah.
And sometimes what you do can be a little is freaky because you're so good at it and it seems effortless. But kind of for you it is, right?
Yeah.
Because you're knowledgeable, you've been doing this a hot minute. But like the night that you channeled on my investigation with Lori
Yeah.
and you, um, I'd never seen that done before. And I've been doing paranormal investigation for well over 10 years, a lot over 10 years now, as
That's
far as formally with stuff. And I think a lot of people that go into, ghost hunting as opposed to actual research, and there is
yeah.
a difference. I
There's
mean,
a
there is a difference. Sometimes,
huge difference.
sometimes I'm ghost hunting, and sometimes I'm working on my own research. It depends on the scenario.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of you're a little out there with your abilities and stuff. It's very cool. I love it. So I know you're blushing. Not, not. So, but what? And just so everybody knows, Mark is bringing for the second hour one of my favorite things that he's going. I don't even know all of the deets on this one, and he is going to bring a case that he was researching and investigating and went into the structure. And it was so weird because he started, he's got physical proof, evidentiary proof
Yeah.
of this case that he was working on. So that's going to be coming up the second hour. But as far as, can you demystify a little bit metaphysics? Can you describe what that is?
Well, I have to. Why
In
is there?
less than 6 hours.
Okay. Is there an echo on your side? Do you hear
Uh,
a little echo? I hear an echo, but maybe it'll quit. It's different for everybody. It's I can only speak for myself, and metaphysics for me, I mean, it's everything that you have, everything that you have and are. You're born with thousands of people's DNA memories and thoughts and looks and everything, but you get their thoughts and their memories just as well as, before you even start, your DNA has all of that. And for me, metaphysics is understanding yourself, understanding the energy you produce, how your body does it, and how to, in your own way, control your aura, control your third eye, understand what your system is, and approach everything with that. When I was young, it was more, the woo woo stuff. And I approached it, I didn't know the person that I was, one of the people, an elder, when I was 18, 19, 20, had us write an essay basically about why are you here, because we were there to train as third degrees Wiccans.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote, I don't know why I'm here. I just, but I'm just drawn to it. I can't not do it. And for whatever reason, he said, because a lot of people were writing, well, to help people to do this, to become the best psychic in the South and things like that. And he said, mine was a good answer because he said, you're here. You don't know why you're here, but you're here because, you have, it's like a drive for me. And metaphysics and spirituality and psychic abilities and everything is especially since we won't go into all of it, but
Right.
being transitioned when I was attacked and killed and came back from it, that basically expands your consciousness because your body will overcompensate, and then you get your it's not something out there that's a mystical wind when you talk to people about being a psychic. It's all natural. It's all based in nature. It's all based in the physical. And the spiritual aspect of it's in here. It's connected to your pineal gland and your third eye, and some of it may not sound glamorous. But I think inner exploration is more exciting than outer. I love to go ghost hunting. I love to do that stuff. I love to go to creepy places, and God knows I've lived in a few. And, but that's how but everything is a learning experience. And it's just being self-aware, not not self-conscious, like in a nervous way, but you have to know who you are, what you can do, how you can do it. And what I find is, when I'm 63, but I'm still like a little kid. I love and approach everything 200%. If I'm going to throw myself at it, I'm going to throw myself at it. And I'm going to swing by the seat of my pants. And if I feel like it's right, I'm going to stick with it. Because, 99.9% of the time, it turns out right. But that's because I take a chance. I'm not afraid. A lot of that, what everyone, I'm also, a lot of people would know, but, because of the attack and other things, I'm disabled. And so regular life that people take for granted is the harder part for me. The metaphysics and the all of the elements of it, and dealing with the spirit and the ghost and the information and the haunted houses and the metaphysics is something I'm not afraid of. I have more challenges doing what regular people take for granted. And because I can talk confidently, there are people who really think I'm being arrogant or something. And I'm like, are you kidding? You know,
You don't have an arrogant bone in your body. I
no,
mean,
I really
you
don't.
don't.
I try not to because I've watched people's egos eat them from the inside out. Period.
Yeah.
And jealousy. I've had to experience jealousy from someone a while back. And I was like, I never have gotten jealousy. There's nothing, tell me something good that comes out of being jealous. Tell me, did it really get you to
Nothing.
do something in a good way? You know, so and I've been through a lot of stuff, you know, I mean, this year has kicked my butt around the corner and back, and I'm dusted myself off, got right back up, and I'm back on the horse and doing it. You know, you can't be afraid of whatever you do. Just don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to
Yeah.
do it. Don't be afraid to fall. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid for someone to not understand. Don't be afraid that someone's going to get their tail in a twist because they can't do it. Which
Does does
I'm
that
like,
happen a
bring the
lot?
coloring book. I'll bring the crayon. Hmm?
Does that
Okay,
happen
go
a
ahead.
lot where people get frustrated a lot because
Woo!
there's a lot
Yes.
of people that think that they are you, okay? So, or similar to you. And I'm going to step out on a limb
Well, no
here
one can
and
be
just
anybody
say
else but themselves.
exactly. It just doesn't seem like what you do is so amazing, but it is something
Well, thank you.
we've talked about this before. I've worked with a lot of people who are not. I've never seen anybody like you as far as working together. So
Well, yeah, let's
that's not a
see.
bad thing.
Well, everybody, you can't be somebody else. If you're trying to be somebody else, you're not being you.
Yeah,
And when I came back
you're
from
absolutely right.
being
Because
killed, oh, go ahead.
I have just lost my connection here. I'm so sorry. Give me just a second.
Sure.
Okay.
Well,
Okay, I can hear you.
oh, okay. Well, you can't be somebody else. You have to be yourself. But by God, you
You
better
do.
figure yourself out. And what I've been dealing with are people who they have this grandiose, thing going on, which is it's like they need a wheelbarrow to get their ego around, and they have it. They couldn't get themselves out of a wet paper bag, and I hate to tell them that, but they really couldn't get themselves out of a wet paper bag. And if I supplied the wet paper bag, um, it, it's just a very strange thing. I'm not here in the world to go, you're good, you're bad, you're, right,
Well, I mean,
train
and you
yourself.
don't do that.
And I don't do that. I'm not here for that. I am here to expand. I am here to help people learn and be interested and curious. And actually, I experienced someone not too long ago who said they wouldn't use my evidence because it's not scientific. Well, I have a little clue for them. The science community does not acknowledge ghost hunting. And the thing is, the stuff they're doing is not science. You should try to do things in a scientific way if you can, or a way to repeat, to control
Yes.
a controlled atmosphere to see what you can get. But what I do is metaphysics. The
Yeah.
physics is in the title, Turkey.
Yeah.
And it's its own science. It's the science of the unknown human element, because people have ignored the human element, thinking, science is only a couple hundred years old. And they go, well, anything else is stupid. Everything else is stupid. Well, if everything in science was so great, we wouldn't be sick. We wouldn't have disease. We would know how people would be able to regrow their teeth. People would be
Yeah.
able to take the genetics and make you regrow your teeth. People could regenerate arms. People could, science hasn't got the answers for a lot of things. So it's not the end all be all. Sorry. I just don't think it
Well,
is.
it's really interesting because if science was the be all and the end all, then what we would have would be duplicating the things that can grow new arms. So, and Robert says we're the
The
same
same
as,
as a drop of water.
yeah.
And,
But I did have,
and Robert, I think, is the one who, I think last time he asked a term tulpa. If
yes,
he had
it's
said
there
thought
in
form,
chat.
I know what I hadn't, I wasn't familiar with the tulpa thing, but from the thought form, I am familiar with. So, yes, Robert, you asked good questions last time, Robert. Thank you.
Robert's pretty cool.
He did ask some good questions. The reason I can talk about a little bit further along than what most people get to, because most people, when they talk about dying, they talk about the tunnel, they talk about the light, and then that's about it. Well, I went through the tunnel and I was able to get up over the little opening when you get up to the thing, and then you look out and you see all the beautiful neurons, beautiful colors and the lights and the feeling and so I'm really, even though I've come back, when they say near death, of course, you didn't die all the way, or you'd be dead and you'd be gone. And
Well, don't you think that what you did was dying?
oh, I did die. I was near die. I
Yeah.
had died
I mean,
twice.
you were out. You had
Yeah,
checked
well,
out.
they put me in a room to die because they couldn't save me. And actually, the doctor was very shocked when I came back because they were like, "We don't understand it." And I was like,
I'm just
um,
here. Yeah.
"I'm just here," But I've lived more than 33 years, and I was 30 when it happened, and I've lived 33 years after that. And it's been a whole different circumstance. And in a way, I feel like a living ghost. I mean, really, we all kind of are because, I believe in reincarnation. I've been reincarnated. Um, I just feel like a spirit having the human experience, and here I am. And bring the coloring book. I'll bring the crayons. We'll fill it in, and we'll have fun.
I
But
like
you can't. If I start, I'm my friend Sunshrader Hill, poor little leg that I
Hey, by
do.
the way, we'll be here Wednesday night
Yeah, she's
in
great,
Paranormal Experience.
and we do books together. And poor said she's got. I'm finished with the psychic worm stitch, which is how
Cool.
from my viewpoint of how it all works, and it'll have things in
I've
there.
been waiting on that.
Yeah, well, I've been working on that because
I know.
it's so complex. But I mean, I can write about the universe quicker than I can do it a cookbook. But it it's the channeling I've done. When you say I mean, when I was in '96, I started doing channeling because I just it was just it's inborn in some people. I think everyone has the mechanism, but it really it I channel when I do artwork or when I do anything. And so I've been this week channeling things that are very important to me. And I think a lot of it is so unusual. I'm having to draw illustrations so people will understand what I'm talking about. But when they see the illustration of how it all works, in my opinion, then I think it will help people. What I hope it does is people will take it and go further, because because I'm just a messenger. We're all just messengers. We're all here looking in the fog. And, but metaphysics has saved me. I mean, that's, I mean, my whole death experience was metaphysical, coming back, being able to
Yes.
talk to the dead has been, I've helped a lot of people. And, I've been, it's really been like being a social worker. I love doing it. Um, and when you feel like it's a good gift, you shouldn't have a problem with that. And then when you have worked on it and worked on it, worked on it, worked on it, and then you have people who, because of jealousy, because of insecurities and greed, I've been exposed to those things of late with some people, and it's like all of it, and it's all stuff that I don't care for. And I'm like, fine, but if you're going to if you're going to be whatever you're going to be, if you're going to challenge someone or talk down to someone, people talk down to me in this case, or talk down about me. They ain't going to talk to my face because they're a little chicken.
Well,
Uh,
I wouldn't talk much to your face, but I wouldn't be talking about you in the first place. So,
well, and they don't understand. I hear it anyway. So,
yeah.
um, but and I have a lot of Apache in me, and the Apache in me, I have a very bad temper, and
I'm just
people don't
glad I've
understand.
never been on the backside of that.
Ooh, honey, not very many people have, and the ones who
Yeah.
have, they go, oh, because my father, I mean, his grandfather was an Apache, and my father was like an Apache, and
Well,
they were rough.
yeah,
And I want to
okay.
chase people down the street, smacking the back of their head while they run. And the fact
You
that I
don't.
don't is because I can calm myself down. I can think about it, and and go, what is important and what isn't important. But
You're
it's
very good
still,
at that aspect of life.
well, we try,
Well, it helps
but
me sometimes
try,
because of it.
I try to be very um, calm. And when I think about things, I don't like to do things when I'm angry or hurt.
Yeah.
And but it was good to go through what I did, because it reshifted what I'm doing, as far as like, oh, people aren't going to be awful to you unless there's something they're really threatened by or want, and they can't, instead of joining forces, they have to go after you because they don't have it in them. And I'm like, it none of it ever makes sense. It's like, the things they want, they can't get to,
Hmm.
but they could, but they're so destructive. And I don't want to be destructive at this point in my life. I don't want to be screwed with. I want to I want to move forward. This is the last part of my life. I've got to move forward. I've got to get things accomplished. I have things to do to help people. I have things to leave behind that hopefully, I mean, I have, like in the Psychic Worm Stitch, I'll have things in there, meditations for people to do to learn how to control their aura, how to understand their aura, how to try and understand their ectoplasm, and how to be able to get it in their hands, get it from here to your hands. If you can do that, you can do so much. Learning how to protect yourself. Um, Learning how to interact with the living as well as the dead. And because the dead are one thing, the living make things so hard and
The living
complicated.
are ridiculous, comparatively
They're
speaking.
terrible sometimes. And but metaphysics is, I mean, it's your human experience. What's sitting right in here in front of you? What's in your mirror? When you look in the mirror, we are the result of thousands and thousands and thousands of years of development, whether you want to believe in creationism or evolution or whatever you want to believe. We are a complex, simply complex being. And humanity
Yeah,
has gotten to where we're just the lowest
the
denominator.
lowest common denominator.
And we've got to raise ourselves up, and we've got to raise our consciousness. And because the consciousness, that the spirit, that the soul that comes in bringing your spirit into your body when you're born to watch over you until you die and it takes you back, you're here for, it's like playing a football game. You're sent here with a journey, with a thing. And some people don't ever get that they have a journey. They just go to work at Dollar General and do their thing. Hell, I know all of this stuff, and I'm still broke as I'm a Southern poor psychic. I'm a psychic, and I do all this stuff, but I'm very poor. And but I do it. I love it. I do books. I do things. I'm going to be doing videos. I do art. But do I have anything monetarily? Nah. Is that real important?
No.
It's not. You have, it doesn't, but I think if you do the work good, and if the work is really good, everything else will follow. And even if it doesn't, some people don't get over the rainbow. Some people do. And, but it's all about learning, because everybody's life matters. Everyone listening or within my voice, everyone's life matters. The person on the street, the relative you can't stand, everyone's life matters. But they got to learn who they are and bring it to the table. And the head games that people play get in the way of spiritual development. And, you just got to get it going.
That's so true.
But metaphysics, if you understand how the mechanism is, how your spine is your electrical system, your chakras, which are your energy centers, and how the spirit comes into the body. When the soul brings the spirit in, it comes up through the solar plexus chakra into the umbilical cord of the baby, goes into the solar plexus chakra of the baby, goes up and down the spine, turning all the chakras on. Then it plugs the spirit, the person you're going to be, the new little pebble that they brought in. You're plugged in there, and that's who you develop into. And then when you die, the soul, because the soul is like a cord, it's part of the cord, and the soul will go out last. It'll make sure the spirit makes it out first, and then the soul leaves last, turns the lights off, and then you go back to the consciousness. And they go, what did you learn? You download it all. Every second you've been alive, awake, asleep, whatever, it's all there. It's downloaded into the plasma, and then then you go on and get cleansed, and then you either come back later, or you go and be a guide, or you become part of something. It's not sitting on a little cloud with a little harp and little wings and floating around going, well, I was a good person. It's the busiest you'll ever be, and you're busier as a spirit because you don't have a body to constrain now. And so it's
Robert wants to know, is that why the men in black attack the solar plexus chakra?
The solar plexus chakra is where you get, when they say get a gut feeling, that's where your umbilical cord was. Well, see, when the spirit comes in through the solar plexus, the soul has the cord. I'll have to, when I show people what the soul looks like, they're going to freak. But because it's all energy, it doesn't look like what we think everything looks like. But when it goes through the umbilical cord while you're in your mother's womb, that your energy cord continues like a fiber optic tether to the consciousness your whole life. And then when you die, that's where the soul and the spirit go back to. They go back, follow that cord back to the consciousness. So yes, anything that you get information through your solar plexus. So you get that gut feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, other energies, darker energies, other energy, your aura is a CAT scan. So, but the CAT scan starts here and makes a sphere around you, but you get stuff through your solar plexus. So if somebody wanted to check your solar plexus, they could, that's where you're getting information, but they can also try to access your system. That's where
Okay.
this disembodied kind of disincarnate beings will try to actually I went through an experience not too long ago in a place that was made to create and open the gate for malignant energy to get into people's systems. Well, if something malignant is going to try and get in your system, it's going to check out your aura to see the chinks, and it's going to try and get a hold of your umbilical cord, that your silver cord, and it will hold on to it. And if your system isn't in good working order, eventually they'll work to getting into the umbilical cord, into the chakra. And then if they can get into the chakra and into the chakra uh, in your spine, get in your system, then they can go up and be back here where the soul is. I mean, where the information gathers, right here at the back of your head. And so if the malignant energy can get in your system, get up your electrical system, get up here, then it will talk constantly. And eventually, a lot of people think it's just them thinking, and that voice will talk because it doesn't get tired, because it's an energy. And people get tired, you get sick, you get sleepy, and eventually you start hearing that voice. And then you if you think it's your voice or it's a stronger voice than you, eventually that's what happens. And then people start listening and following what the voice says, because you can eject that energy, but you have to know it's there, you have to acknowledge it, and you also have to understand your system to be able to push it out. But if your aura is in good working condition, they can't get that close to your abdomen, to your solar plexus. But if they can, then, which I've seen spirits standing like a lunch line on one guy. And his girlfriend,
Because he was that open?
oh, he had no aura. He had no protection. He was on drugs and drinking. His girlfriend was worried about him. She brought him to me. And he really was, if you looked in a dictionary for an ass, he was a real ass. But I was trying to deal with him nicely. And he wanted a rating. And I was looking at him, and I could see it. You could see what was left of his silver cord going out. He still had the cord. He just didn't have an aura. Or a protective system. He had an aura, but it's not like what we consider, in a good condition. And it was just like a row of discarnate dead people holding on to his cord. And I said,
oh my goodness.
And I said, if you don't, I can sit here with you and put you through something to get you to shed that and shed them, because they're not in, but they're feeding off of. But I said, if you don't get rid of it, then it will cause multiple personalities, and you won't be able to do anything about it. And I can't tell you what he told me to do. And 2 weeks later, because he didn't believe any of it, he thought I was full of it. 2 weeks later, this young man was running around downtown Chattanooga in his underwear, breaking storefront windows. So, and sometimes with people, sometimes not always, but sometimes it causes a multiple personality issue, because your system is so down because of depression, abuse, drugs, whatever. Right. Or there are people that feel like, some of this darker energy, when it approaches, sometimes it will give you a dose of oxytocin and you feel lovely. and you think they're your friend, and they let them in, and they just accept it, and then they, it's just a part of their lives. And which is something that's, I'm such a control freak and such a, into being me. It's just like, damn,
I
but
do.
but like I said, but as long as the person wants to get rid of it, usually they can, but you have to have a good technique. And if you approach it with spiritual intent, sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. It's an energy. You have to deal with it as energy. Get rid of it as energy. Use energy to reset your system, push it out, reset the boundary, and keep it out. Because when people think they use The Exorcist as their measuring stick, and it's a movie. There are some things in it that are, actual kind of things, but then it's also a movie. And I had that experience. Someone was going, well, I don't believe what you're, because someone was being exposed to that stuff. And they said, well, I don't see anything flying around. I don't think that's like the movie, so I don't believe it. And I said, it's
So
not
the
like that.
movie takes precedence.
Yeah. And I said, well, I'll let you know the energies that they were exposed to. I said, they don't like to scare the food. They like to
Yeah.
they get in it. It's slow sometimes, and it can happen in several different ways, but once it's in the system, it's up to you to say no and understand and be aware and get rid of it. But if you think that having a Catholic priest come in and Catholics do not like to do the exorcisms, because a lot of times they do not work, because I've gone into a place where I had to get rid of something that a bishop had been in and done his thing, and it didn't work. But I showed them how to change the system, how to change the energy and push it out, and it worked. And it's
Right.
not because I'm all that. It's it's using basic understanding. If you are in control of your body, you can push a foreign body out of your system. But you have to acknowledge what that is and what it's representing, because the reason you have it is it's filling a need of some sort. And it's not healthy. I don't know anyone that's used dark energy that's ever ended up happy. They always seem to die with cancer and leukemia, because that stuff eats constantly, and it eats the minerals out of your system. It eats the iron out of your blood. It eats and it causes cancer and leukemia and other issues. And then the person, when they die, then it can eat on the body until there's no body left, and then they'll go on else somewhere, or wait until somebody else calls it, or as somebody is close by that has a damaged system that they can hook onto, because they have a vibration. They'll go to the frequency. It's like making a cell phone call. They'll try each person that goes by energy until they reach a matching frequency, and then they go to it. So
That's weird. I mean,
it's
like weird is an alarming weird.
yeah. But I mean, that's how they get anywhere. Everything is frequency. Everything is
Yeah.
vibration. Everything is electromagnetic plasma. Your aura is a plasma membrane, and it comes from the plasma that we have in our system. So everything is food, and to the darker energies, it's food. And your food, and then people who think, well, if I do this thing, because I've watched these movies, and if you get this identity, you're gonna be a big star, and you're gonna be good. And no, you're just food. You might be able to scare some people, or pull a few parlor tricks, or impress someone, or hurt someone, but eventually it all ends in the dirt. And what did you accomplish? And see, what I want to accomplish in my life is getting people interested, getting the younger people back into doing meditations and understanding themselves and listening, because it's all like going inside the elevator and going in the Akashic library that I teach, going into the brain, and go basically you make a system to where you go to the cerebellum of your brain, and that's where all the old stuff is. And then when you're in that, how to ask questions to get information. I've made constructs where, the first time I did, when I was 18 and I was put through my first Akashic Library meditation, I mean, there were balls of light with scrolls, coming out, going, whoop, and you downloaded everything. It was before computers, So,
Except that you were one. Yeah.
well, but everyone is.
For the download. Yeah.
Everyone is, because the computer and the internet is kind of based on the way the system works. I mean, the consciousness is the universal consciousness is huge. And that's where our spirits and souls come from. And it's like a fluid or a pool. It's like our third eye. It's the third eye of the galaxies, and each galaxy, the planets are organs and food and minerals, and it has life. And when planets begin to die, they do black holes to stretch out and find new life and find new energy and explode and make new life and it passes the DNA of the past the consciousness of what was in the last planets goes into the new planets. The reason we have chakras is because those chakra energies come from different what do you call them? Now I can't even think of the word. I can see them when you see the big things of gases in the universal picture. Nebulas. Each nebula is a different color.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a chakra, look at what nebulas are close to us that have those colors, and that will tell you the composition of that chakra, because that all comes from, what created the earth came from elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And along the way, it picked up the gases from the places it's been. So at least we've got 7 chakras we acknowledge. So there have been 7 steps of what we've been through elsewhere. I mean, that came from somewhere else. And we are a composition of what it came from. So your chakra colors and gases all come from that. And they represent life and consciousness and intelligence from those nebulas, from those galaxies, from those people. And, and for people, I mean, I believe we have travelers. I mean, I believe there's people who came here from before needing stuff and tinkering and having sex with everything and creating lab created stuff and then messing up and leaving their mess. Do I think that they have a real interest in us and our consciousness and development? Not really.
No,
because I think
so.
that the planet Earth is an organ. They have to come and check it. They check the levels they try to keep us from poisoning it. And right now people are talking about sending and building a nuclear plant like on Mars and the moon. And it's
the moon. We want to have a plant on the moon.
And it's like, look, all the planets don't need our help. They don't need to be developed. They are organs. They are functioning just beautifully. The Earth was functioning beautifully before we became mechanized. Once we became mechanized and could grab and could ruin and could smoke and could burn and could poison, we have done so. And
consistently, and getting better at that.
And getting much better at it. And so they come and check and make sure we've not killed it beyond killing, but you'll see activity happening when there's talk of nuclear stuff or nuclear activity because they
Mhm.
try to keep that down.
We've got a couple of questions. Are you
I'm
up for
not
that?
quite sure. I have a relative, I would say,
No.
qualified for that. That's the lowest.
The,
I have a
the
relative
question
that's the
is, what
lowest
is the
life.
lowest life form on Earth to have chakras?
I think I'm not sure on the chakras, but everything seems to have a consciousness. Even little bugs that we don't think about. They
Yes.
fight for their lives. They run when you get near them. They know what's good and they know what's bad. So everything has everything that we have, whatever life is here. There's I thought, when we talked about thought forms before, or
Mhm.
it's kind of like that. It's like everything has an essence of the consciousness. So it has a thought, it knows how to eat, it knows how to go, it knows how to do. And so, I don't know. I haven't looked at different, I'm sure animals, regular, just animals have chakras. Uh,
Mhm.
I'm not sure about, insects and stuff. I haven't really looked at it. So maybe you should look at that and see what, because usually, um, because we have spines, most animals with the
Yes.
spines have them, but that doesn't mean they wouldn't have them.
Right.
It would just be more because,
Because that would still, even in the
yeah,
context of tiny, it would still be
yeah, it has
the
something in
electrical
there.
system.
It
Yeah.
has an electrical system, and everything is like a cell. See, if you look at a cell, it looks like a ball in the center
Mhm.
and a sphere like an orange around it. Well, if
Yeah.
you look at us, our nucleus is our third eye, and we have a round aura, which is our cell membrane, which is
Mhm.
just like a big cell. The Earth is the nucleus, and around it, the atmosphere is its cell membrane.
Yes.
So it's little cell, big cell, and then we have, little teeny tiny little cells. And,
Yes.
but everything comes from something. I mean, and when you get into the consciousness, when you get to go into the pool, oh, yeah. Oh, there are plenty of plants. Plants are very, very conscious sometimes. Um,
That's true. Mine
and
always know that I own them and they try to run away or die.
oh, please, I couldn't keep a plant alive right now if I tried. My partner has got the green thumb. I mean, the thumb will grow something. Um, but everything has life, and whatever we have in us, everything else, we have a little bit of something that everything has. I mean, we have
Mhm.
some of the same compositions. We have, quite a few minerals. We have a lot of dirt in us. We have a lot of water in us. We have a lot of, other things. So we have a lot of composition, and when we die, we turn back to dirt. We turn back to food. Everything is about food. Um,
Don't you find it interesting? I'm interrupting here, but
no, no,
don't
no.
you find it interesting that humans have gone to such effort to
Mm.
prevent themselves from turning back to dirt?
Oh, too much.
I
And
mean,
now they put
with
themselves,
all of the embalming stuff and all of that. I mean,
yeah, well,
even
to,
being just a mummified person must be so much better than going back to
yeah,
dirt
well,
because
it comes from the
what's
self
you isn't there
importance.
anymore.
Yeah, but see, that's the self importance thing,
Hmm.
and the and people don't realize when they do the embalming route.
Yeah.
First of all, it's toxic to the environment. It will leak at some point from the casket. The embalming fluid, the way they do things now, you're only made to look pretty for a few days. After that, they don't care. You're not going to see them again. Or you're going to go dig up, Grandma,
Yeah.
Morton. No, you don't know that what she's going to do, and you can't. People are one of the hardest, impossible to embalm and keep perfect. We can't taxidermy people, and they could at some point, but embalming fluid can last, but it's not meant to now. It just gets you through a few days. Then you turn back into dirt anyway, eventually. And all that embalming fluid is poison. Those metal boxes are taking up space. And
What about if you're cremated? What happens?
well, I mean, it doesn't do anything to the spirit. The spirit just doesn't have as much, there's no minerals in that. So, if there are spirits or energies that want to eat that are hanging out in the dry places, they're not going to have anything to eat. And you don't, but what happens is you're supposed to transition, download, upload, go into the consciousness, and then you don't, not supposed to worry with it. But if you
Well,
don't,
but when you pass, you would already have done your download, right?
you
Yeah.
get the chance to download. But if people don't download, because you can choose not to do it, people do all the time, and then they hang around. Sometimes they want to hang around with their body because that's all they know what to do. Because or they'll hang out at the place they lived or around the people they
Or
knew
where they died.
or where they died. And so, and then two people, because of where they bury people, when you go there and talking to them, and they know where to go to it's like a meeting spot, but
Mhm.
most people don't live there. They don't live in the grave, but there are some that do. There are some that that's they don't know what else because I've known people who think that are Christians that think the light is a false light when you're dying and it's going to take you to hell. And I'm like, no, in my opinion, no. Actually, it's a lovely, beautiful, wonderful experience. Why would you even put that in there? And some people are afraid they're going to go to hell or be punished, or they've been killed and they don't know what to do and they want that found out. And they, any kind of different reason you can think of. And we have free will. So, if they don't want to go on, they don't have to right then. And eventually, I think everyone does break down and gets reabsorbed, and then you get there anyway.
Right.
But because you get very few hauntings and things like that going over 1,000 years, kind of thing. You get them very rarely going a couple of hundred, because they don't have time, they don't have a body to TikTok. But eventually, your spirit is made out of minerals, it's made out of plasma, it's made out of materials that will break down at some point. And if you don't learn how to feed from the air, from the energy around you, then you can't sustain yourself. And then you get kind of reabsorbed because everything around us is a fluid. I mean, what we can't see, all this air stuff is fluid. And you have your dark matters and dark energies, but you have, everything is in a fluid. It's like an embryonic fluid that we're floating in, living through, moving through. And when the spirits break down, then they just get reabsorbed and then eventually get magnetically drawn back to where they came from, because we all come from a consciousness, so you go back to it. But it's all kind of based in, since we're meat products, everything is based on minerals and meat and muscle, so we're connected. We have a spirit, we have a developing thing in us, but it's a plasma form within a physical form. And so when you die, you still have that little cord, and that cord goes to the consciousness. Even if you're a spirit or a ghost, you're still connected to it, and eventually, you'll go back to it magnetically. But the energy there's several ways the energy does. So if you don't go, because Earth is a self-regulatory system. It does not waste. It does not waste energy. And the thing about dying, when there are a lot of people who think when you die too that you just lay in still until Jesus comes back. Where energy doesn't stay still. That's not
Right.
energy. That's the but it's a different thing. I understand, and I'm not trying to insult anyone's belief systems, but for me, it's like, the most alive I ever felt was when I was dead. And that's because I didn't have a body. And believe me, I felt great. And the clearest, happiest, and there were people there calling my name, and it was great. You can tell they want you to cut. It's like they're trying to get you to run to them like you're with a football. It's like they've missed you. And that's
Yeah.
why a lot of people feel displaced and they feel like this is not home, that, home is somewhere else. And death is a wonderful thing. Once you get past all the other crap, it's a beautiful experience. And most of the people in my family, when they've died that have had the worst time, were little Baptists. And I'm like, why be afraid? It's wonderful. Don't be afraid. I understand you have to mourn. You have to be angry and mourn. You have to, because this is all we know right now that we
Yes.
remember. But when you die and go into it, it's great, wonderful. But don't be afraid of that. And the worst fears I've ever seen are people who the whole life, crack, this, you're going, and everything that they were projecting on other people, they were really afraid of themselves. And see, I feel like I'm a part of everything. I'm a part of a consciousness. And I feel like each one of us are a traveler. We're here to learn something, bring something, take back information. Everything that you've recorded is, you're going back. This is like you've come to school and you're learning and you're taking it back, and it adds to the consciousness. So, that's what metaphysics kind of means to me, AB, to see,
Well,
Um,
but that's what it kind of means to me too. I don't have the technical knowledge that you have relevant to that, but I'm learning because I learn from you every time we talk. But I'm going to be learning a lot more with the psychic worm stitch. But I think that it's so important because, like, I did not know what a chakra cleansing was, right? But I was in Sedona, Arizona, and I was like, "Ooh, I want to do that." And David was like, "Do it." I mean,
yeah.
And so I went with a lady who was very spiritual. And the only reason I got to go was because there was a lady who had lost her husband. She was from England. And she told the guide that she would love for me to join them
Yeah.
because, there wasn't anything else. And I was only there for like no time. And so this lady did the attunement at one of the, oh, please, vortexes. So it was kind of an interesting thing. And she was very complimentary about my aura. And I'm like, oh, well, thank you, doctor. But because I don't see them as a rule. I have, but usually it's because I feel them. And then and I just, that's a whole nother world. But it's really interesting to me when I get a chance to have this conversation with you because we have had some late night conversation on these topics, and you're very good at educating. We do have a couple of questions. Are you up for them?
I'm up for them. Bring them.
All right. Let's see.
Maybe I got an answer.
Oh, you might. You never know. But Robert says, yes, that's it. Do you find that the twin flames and
Invisible
invisible
red theories.
red theories? Because
No, yeah.
Robert Robert asked this because he says that he recently found his cosmic partner.
Sure. Well, I'm
And
actually with the partner that I'm with, that I've been with for 20 years. We're
yeah,
buried, I know in our past life, we're buried in Highgate Cemetery. Um, and so I have to say, we repeat a lot of people that past life, regardless of whether it was good or bad or unfulfilled. And so in a way, I think it does happen. You crisscross with a lot of people.
mhm.
And do I think that there can be someone that you have a soulmate kind of thing? Of course. I mean, I went through all sorts of stuff to get to mine. Take my word for it. But then when it happened, boom, and totally opposites.
That would be
Totally,
true. That would be true.
um, totally. But 20 years doesn't say a bad
But
thing.
very good together.
Very
Yes.
good together. And
That's
so,
me and
in a
David.
way,
Yeah.
I think yeah. I mean, but we're all cosmic anyway. So, do I
Yes.
think it's the cosmic? I think and just as well as love, you can be connected to people who you just hate, and
Yeah.
or people that
Do
you
you
have a
think that's
less
because
enough
you've known them
connection. Hmm?
over lifetimes
Yeah. Oh,
and you
yeah.
know what they're capable of?
Yeah. And if you don't realize it, then you keep repeating it. And if it doesn't
Yeah.
succeed, and there is actually one relationship when the person died, I said, no, no, I'm not doing that one again. It's not, it's still, it wasn't supposed to be finished in this lifetime. I don't want to repeat that again. And
Right.
you can kind of tell your system, say, no, I don't want to go through.
Away. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've done this, and it isn't happening. So don't do that. Don't do it
You
again.
know, there's something about that, I lost a friend when Lori was down the last time.
Yeah.
And my friend was actively dying and alone and didn't have, for whatever reason,
Yeah.
his family couldn't be there. And so I went and blew him away because when I found out that he was in a hospital in Pensacola,
Yeah.
um, I was like, well, I've got to go. And Lori was so great because she waited on me while I visited with him. And I'm so glad I went. I went a couple of times. But that first time, he was just like, I was like, yeah, I know. You just never know where I'm going to show up. And then I knocked his table around, but which would be normal for me. And so I had to be very careful with how I dealt with that situation
Sure.
because I
Right.
wanted to be able to still go, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, he'd known me since I was 4. The only person that had known me since I was 4 that was around.
Yeah.
And I was just like, next time we're going to do this different
Yeah.
because, next time, because we'll still be there. I know
Yeah.
we'll still be there because he will find me or I would find him. But, it's just really so interesting how you do find those connections and you
Yeah.
stick with them. And this is not like a twin flame kind of thing. This is like a
A soulmate
a
is.
best friend soul. Yeah, a
Yeah.
soulmate. Yeah, that's a great way.
Yeah.
But
A soulmate.
I mean,
They don't have to be love interests. They just can't,
no,
I have
but
plenty of
just
people that, you know,
you
just people
know,
you love, people that
yeah,
come back, and you run into them again, and it's wonderful to see them. And that's like with people a lot. So many of my friends that are dead,
mhm,
um, I know when I die, I'm going to have people there that I've missed, and then when we come back into this, hopefully we'll get to be in the same um group, same circles,
yeah,
because it's all magnetism. And
Don't you think though that we do that?
yeah, I mean, and
I
you
mean,
write your own
we come back
script.
and we'll find each other.
Yeah, you come back and find each other, and you write your own script in a way.
Mhm.
We don't have control on how it's doing, but you have kind of a control on saying, all right, we're going to set this up, and let the horses loose,
Yeah.
and see what happens. But you can magnetize it, and then the next time you come around, if that's what you want to do, and if you don't want to come back, then you don't have to, and you can do something else. And believe me, they have plenty of more for you to do. So, and if you want to be a guide, but that could be frustrating because you're sitting there saying, "You're not listening to me."
Yes, that would
Because
be
they
like
don't
parenting
listen.
again.
And
I
that's
no,
irritating. It's
that would
irritating.
be irritating
Because
because
they're going, "Oh my God, do you see what they're doing?" And they try to help you, and you're not
do
listening.
they not know the repercussions of
That's
this?
that's
Yes.
or don't care.
Or don't give your
Um,
time or your energy to that person.
no.
Yes.
So being a guide might be a little frustrating, which I can see
I
where
would
it
be
is.
whacking people on the head.
Oh yeah,
I would
but
be a great guide because when they started to do something stupid, I would just be like, no.
oh yeah,
So,
I mean, can you imagine
lightning
me being a
bolts.
backseat driver?
Phew,
Are you? So it's
you were so funny.
I don't know, but there are other desk jobs. So I will probably be doing a desk job. I thought I don't want to come back and do this.
I just don't want
Uh,
to be the clerk in Beetlejuice. Nope.
no, no, no.
No, thank
But
you.
and the thing about death and things that has taught me is like, don't hesitate. If you want to go see somebody, if you want to call someone and you want to say something to them, do it. Because if you hesitate and don't do it because, oh, well, I don't know, it might be uncomfortable. We don't make ourselves uncomfortable enough.
No.
Reach out. You never know when somebody really needs you, or
Yes.
just you saying hello, and recognizing them as another human being. You don't know what it's going to do
Absolutely.
for you. And people are already lonely enough, and lost enough. Maybe
Yes.
people who do make me angry, or people who do things to me. I always open the door for, if you want to straighten up, you can always call me or talk to me, or if you feel like I ran over you with a lawnmower, please let me know, and I'll figure it out. But this thing of human beings going, they made a mistake, they're out of my life forever, and then all you can do, then your attention is frozen in that moment, and you can't, oh, but I miss them, you can't talk to them, or you can't share friendship or fun or anything because of human nature. And
Yeah.
we need to be more flexible. You miss out on a lot of things. Now there are some people you have to kiss my double wide psychic derriere and not feel bad about it. But then there are people that you have to, everyone is human. We all make the mistakes. That's what they don't, the thing with the consciousness, it doesn't want you to be perfect. It wants you to make mistakes. How are you going to get up? How are you going to brush yourself off? How are you going to get on that horse? And yeah, maybe you don't know how to do it, but what you going to do? How are you going to do it? How are you going to figure it out?
Mm-hmm.
And do it, live it, front to back, side to side.
That's why they give you so many opportunities, right?
That's why we get a lot of opportunities. And then they think, well, but I have tomorrow. Well, you don't know. You don't know that
No, you don't know.
and I've been there, um, and think about, people in disasters, like, in your desk working and a plane crashes in, and all of a sudden you're fighting for your life, in seconds, or your car, goes into the river, or you have a terrible
Yeah.
wreck, or someone breaks in your home and you're in the middle of trying to fight for your life, or or you're being killed, seconds. Everything changes in seconds.
Yeah.
And you have to be you know, you can think about the future, you can think about the past, you can ruminate about the past, you know, but you have to be right now, you know, because this is it. There is no future, there is no past. There's past, but you can't do anything about it. But you can't, the future hasn't happened yet. Right now, you're creating everything you're doing right now. So be
Right.
aware and make a mistake. If you can apologize for it, dude, that doesn't always fix it. If you are, if somebody's done you wrong and they come to you to try and do it, don't be haughty. Let them have their chance to do that. If someone's dying and they need someone to sit with them, a lot of people, it helps them to be visited while they're dying because they're scared. No matter how
Yes.
brave and tough they are, it's a scary thing because you're jumping off the diving board going into the unknown. And some
Yes.
people don't know if that means the darkness of being put in the grave, or if that means going into the thing of light, or being punished and thrown into a pit of hell, or you know, whatever they think it's going to be. They don't know.
They
And
don't. And
the
that's what terrifies the human spirit worse than
it,
just about anything, isn't
oh,
it?
it's terrifying because that seems more permanent than this, but your consciousness never dies. I mean, you know, that's why ghosts don't know. Sometimes they're dead. They're like, well, I'm thinking, how can I be dead? You
Yeah.
know, and I understand because when you die, you're really crisp. You know, you're really thinking. And it's like, well, how can I be dead? You know, so it you know, just open your mind. Don't be stupid. Don't be rude. Don't be mean. You know, don't be um you can, you know, just live your life and try to learn as much
Yeah.
as you can and try to be able, the more you experience the better. And forgiveness sometimes is a great thing, and sometimes there just ain't no forgiveness. So sometimes you have to just go with acceptance.
Well,
And so
sometimes
that's that.
you can forgive, but you do not allow access after that.
No, and but
I
you have
mean,
to have a radical acceptance sometimes when people like my, you know, my parents and stuff did things that were really, really, really rough, and they never felt like they had to apologize. And
right.
I had to radically accept some of the things that were really
Yeah.
rough, and accept, you know, who they were, who I am, and but then I have to look at it and go, well, if I didn't go through that, how I wouldn't be me.
True.
But I would have liked to have seen what it was like not to have to go through some of it. I
I
would
know,
like to have
right?
seen what it was like to not have to be afraid or to be tortured. But but then again, that wouldn't, any iota that changed, I might not have been me. So, you know, and I like being me. So you know, everything is for the best at some
Yeah.
point, and some things you can't do anything about. But if you live worrying about it all the time, you're getting focused on that instead of get out and doing something. So get out and do something.
Robert says that he's forgiven everyone for everything, and I absolutely believe that
Oh yeah.
because he's pretty
Okay.
cool. I do have another comment from him that I find interesting,
All right.
and is he points out bodies that do not compose after death are called incorruptible,
Yeah.
and this phenomenon, you know, where the body resists decay, and that is what the Catholic Church uses for sainthood.
Yeah, and sometimes some of those bodies, they go, oh, they're perfectly preserved, and they're like, you know, they're mummified, they're doing their thing. But uh, one of the a very interesting thing, my uncle who died when he was 25 back in
Okay.
1950, back in the 30s when they were moving, the TVA was moving cemeteries and things, and
Yeah.
he went into a cemetery and watched them move a cemetery in Spring City. And there was this man who had been buried in 1830, and they got to the casket, and it had a little window thing that you could uncover, and he uncovered it, and he said he was perfect, beautiful. You know, you could see the clothing, you could see everything perfect. And it was so it was, you know, 1830, 1930s. And they started lifting up the casket, and the wood cracked, and he turned into like a cigarette ash, and just
Yeah.
so
I've heard of that
even,
happening.
and there are bodies that will, you know, last a ways, but you know, Lenin's body, they have to, he's more mortician's wax and
Yeah.
embalming fluid than he is anything. Uh, there are people you can preserve pretty good, but even some of the ones they call incorruptible, you know, I've seen some of those and I go, ooh. Or sometimes, you know, they'll, the human isn't made to be a wax doll. You know,
Yeah.
it's once you're, it's, this is for you to live in. When you die, it's meant to go back into the earth and feed other things and become part of the fabric. And so I'm fascinated with mummies. I'm fascinated with death, and I'm fascinated with decomposition. And but, whew, you know, um, and yes, there are some bodies that last a long time. But even the mummies from the Egyptian time, you know, you can still see their
Yeah.
faces, but you can tell they're mummified. You know, they're
Mhm.
not. Our skin texture is just not something that holds up to, you know, bacteria and waste. And I've seen people who've died just within hours started just going, you know, and it's like, ooh. So if they can have some that are incorruptible, that's great. But you know, but every example I've really seen, um they can keep them up for a while, but after a while, you know, it, because we're not meant to be, in our heads we think we're so important that
We do.
we should be monuments to the future, and they should be able to see how beautiful we were
Yeah.
when they open us up, you know, in 2,000 years. Well, we're not preserving as well as the mummies from Egypt.
Well,
We're
because
not doing
their
it.
process was brilliant. Yeah.
Well, it was brilliant, but but they were turned into a stick of resin,
They
and
were.
that's because the skin won't last. So most bodies don't last, and if they do, great. But it's fascinating when I see things that are, you know, because decomposition is some bodies will turn unrecognizable, and then some get a different look to them. That sometimes the spirits, when I see ghosts and stuff, sometimes they'll look like who they were, and
Mhm.
sometimes because if they're living in the grave, they'll look like what they
What
see,
they
which
are.
is
Yeah.
what they are, and which can be very disturbing to some people, and it's disturbing to them.
That
You know,
would be disturbing.
it can be
That's why
very
I don't,
disturbing.
I mean, and I actually put to the universe, I do not want to see a death state.
Yeah.
I do
Well,
not want to see a death state.
yeah.
And so far, I haven't.
Well, you know, I used to be all fascinated with it and preservation and stuff, and now I'm kind of like I'm getting into. It's okay to be cremated. It's okay to. I would love to be buried in a green cemetery in a wicker basket, you know, but it's not going to happen because, you know, if something happens to me before I get money to do it, it's going to be, I'm going to be dust, but I
Yeah.
will be. But in my fantasy when I was younger was for someone to take my cremated dust, mix it in with cheese whiz, put it on crackers, and feed it to the people I don't like in my family, and say, "Mark, why don't you eat this?" And then say, "He'll be a part of you forever and ever."
Or at least till this afternoon. That's
At
so
least
funny.
until you can, yeah, until tomorrow, you know.
Yeah.
So,
You're so not right. I love that.
well, you know, I've had 6 concussions in my life, so what can I
Yeah.
say? You know, so what can
Dropped
you
on your
say?
head, talk to the dead.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And it's the truth. And actually, when I fell and passed out and landed on the side of my tub over a year ago, it kicked my psychic abilities like 50% up. So it's like, yeah, so every concussion works, you know.
Would not recommend though.
Huh?
Would not recommend.
I don't recommend. But see, since I'm
No.
disabled, see, I have that's just something in life they went, oh, well, this will make you better. Boom, you know.
Yeah.
But
We're gonna bump you up a little.
but it's you know, I mean, if I were a regular person and it happened, and I would just have the problems off of it. But if you know, if it happens and it gives a benefit, well, at least something good came out of it. You
There you
know,
go.
that's why I look at it. I'm like, well, at least something good came out of it. The first 6 months after it, I thought, kill me now, because it was just, oh, the
It was
pain, the
hard.
pain.
Yeah.
And then that kind of eased off, and then it's like I've been tearing it up. So you know, I went, well, whatever. You know, if that's how they do it, if that's how they want to jump it up, it's okay. Just I just don't want to drown in the toilet. That's just mine. You know,
That
I've
would
told them, I
be
said, no, when I die, no toilet, no falling. Because when I passed out, I woke up and my hand, I'd had hiccups for 9 days. So I'd gone and got the shots and because I have Marfans and that's something that happens sometimes.
right.
And the shot worked, but the last hiccup that hit, it squeezed every ounce of breath I had out of me for that I've been hiccuping for 9 days. And I just passed out and fell and landed on the tub and
Oh
uh,
man.
woke up and I thought, okay, we're not dead. Then I thought, where's my hand? Where's my left hand? I feel why, and my hand was in the toilet. And I thought, ah! I said, I'm alive. I'm worried about my fastidious. So,
As
so
you
I,
are.
and I just laid there. I got myself up out of the floor. You know, it went on. Nobody knew about it. So I thought, you know, if things happen to me, a plane could crash on me. I just, you know, I'll walk out of it and crawl over and
Yes.
do until do until you don't, you know. So that's that whole thing.
Well, you know, I have so much fun with you because
Yeah.
A, we're friends. B, you are just, you love sharing and teaching. And I love that you do that because I have the best time. And,
Oh,
well, you know, I like learning, you like teaching. It's a good blend. So, but you wanted to talk about this, this case
oh,
that you found.
well, you told me to tell some of my favorite ghost stories.
Yes,
So
well, I didn't tell. I asked.
she asked, and
Maybe
so
I
I thought,
told.
okay, well, what was the turning point one for me? And the turning point one for me, it's a long story, so just prepare. And I gave her pictures, so
Yeah,
she might be able to show the pictures.
I just got
So
to
the
get to them.
okay, this all was when I was living in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Hmm.
Now
Is
I was
this
mhm.
is this the lady?
This is a lady, but she's part of the story. Um, I was attacked in '92. So by 1996, I was working in a metaphysical store doing stuff, and I decided I was going to do a ghost book. And I was going to do a ghost book called Chattanooga Chills, which I did.
And did.
And I did. And so in Chattanooga, one of the big things is the Reed House. So there's a big room in there that's very haunted, 311. I've known about it for years and years and years. So this person, Frank Riddle, that I knew, got us in, you know, got the room rented. And there's all sorts of different stories about it. The Reed House that's there was, you know, it was a different building during the Civil War time and all that. You know, and when Chattanooga was under siege, a lot of the buildings in the city were used as morgues or hiding places. And so the basement that still exists that you can't go in was used for a morgue. But there was, I think it was a wood building there at one time, and then it burned or something happened. That's that you're jumping ahead. Now, uh, the lady picture. Do you know where the lady picture is?
Yes, this is the
All right.
last one.
All right. The 311 is haunted by a woman, and they've had another psychic come in and go. Her name is Annalise, and she was a hooker, and she was killed and prostitute, which is very possible because even up until the 70s, 60s, and 70s, the hotel downtown Chattanooga was very crime ridden. Now it's a tourist thing. It's beautiful, little jewel box. But in the 60s and
It is
70s, it was
rougher.
on the little rougher. And there were people of the night, that lived there and worked there, and kind of thing. So it's very possible those things happen. But also, I found a lot of stories, of spiritualists going into the Reed House and doing seances and slate readings and table tipping and all that. So there was a lot there. So we got into 311. I didn't want to really go on anyone else's stuff. I wanted to talk to this woman. And this story will lead to the next story. But I go in, and there's a little alcove, and I could tell there was an energy spot over there that she would come in out of that. So I pulled a little table into the hallway so we could do a seance to talk to her. And this was the first time I'd ever gotten cussed out by a spirit. That's how conscious she was. Beautiful in person, really beautiful hair, beautiful. This 1940s kind of almost Dior kind of, it's very, very beautiful black flared dress and this tiny little waist kind of thing. And she had beautiful, and even though it's been since 96, I can still see these beautiful little bracelets, little charm bracelets she had. She was just, and it was the first time. I mean, she even had French manicure that was so, it was like me looking at this.
Mm-hmm.
She had a beautiful French manicure, prim, proper, beautiful, until she opens that mouth. And the story I got out of her was that she had, was living in a hotel, which you could do that.
Mm-hmm.
Back then. You could live in it weekly, monthly, yearly, whatever. And her husband had a mistress, and she didn't want to get a divorce. So he put her up in the hotel. And she would sit there and play bridge with her friends, and she enjoyed it. She liked it. Had it all apparently at her time fixed out quite beautifully, and very, wealthy, just very classy looking. But she was, she was a smoker, like they were back then. Everybody thought that was classy. Drinker, and she had a heart attack after eating one time, and then they thought she'd been strangled. And what she told me was, that it was her home. She didn't like, and I asked her if she wanted to go on to the people who knew her. She said, I didn't like them when I was alive. Why do I want to go around them now that they're dead? And she didn't want to go on. And what would happen, the stories like with her, which I love, this guy from Texas came in, a big Texas oil guy, had a big 10-gallon hat and big boots, and came in his limo and went up to 311. And a guy I used to know a little bit named Gordon, who worked there, said the guy came running down in his cowboy hats, boxer shorts, and cowboy boots and would not go back up. And he wouldn't tell them why he wouldn't, but they had to go get his stuff and they had to bring his clothes down. He wouldn't step in the door. And later, there was another story of a guy named Howard Johnson who worked there, and he was one of the maintenance guys. And one day he was sitting in there watching nobody was renting it, so he was in there watching the football game. And this lady in a black dress was standing at the door looking at him. And he thought she was wanting to know about the score, and so he was talking to her, and she wouldn't answer back. She just kept staring at him. And he said, then I started to realize her clothes were old-fashioned, and she looked mad. And he got up, and he had to go around her. That's how solid
Oh, wow.
Had to go around her to get out the door. And so when they brought him to be interviewed by us, he would not come in the door. He would stand out there. And he said, and I had drawn a picture of her, and he goes, that's her. So that picture you saw, that was what she looked like. And these other people came by and, would tell us their stories. And if you would go in there, the doors would close on their own, open and close. The water would turn on in the sinks. One family came in there and to sleep, to stay there. And the woman woke up and screamed because this woman was standing by the bed looking at her. And so they had to give them a new room. So it wasn't a good room to, the hotel knew it was all haunted. And when they found out we were in it the next morning, they went, ooh. So I drew the picture. I talked to her. I asked her if she wanted to go on. She was like, nope, this is my place. And when she comes back in, she wants people gone. Mm-hmm. So when she shows up, it works because they'll run. They'll go out.
Yeah. And, sounds like she's really effective at that.
She did not want to be bothered. And she liked to smoke, so she doesn't like it if people smoke. So now, of course, everybody's smoking, And so the person who was with me, Judith Anderson, was lighting matches to see if she'd blow them out. And she told her, said, they would just go, poof, they'd go out. And she said, I hope you burn your damn fingers. And so, at the end of it, I was just like, she just wants to be left alone. And that's her home. And now I think they don't rent it out. Now, of course, I think you can pay to go and investigate it, but they don't have it as like a regular renting room. But when we were in there, this girl, Candace and Wayne, came by the door and told us about the 7th floor and said the 7th floor is very, very haunted. But that's all they knew. So that was in 96. So I said, well, I'll come back and do that at another time because it was pretty expensive to come be in this hotel to investigate, And around that time in 96, I had a friend who had a junk store that was fabulous. Fabulous. It was not, everybody's junk stores and antique stores now are so clean and cute and tidy. This one, you could climb in. Things were falling over. Everything was piled on.
I used to love those. You never know what you're going to find.
Oh, and you would find wonderful gems. I mean, I would find, he had stacks of magazines from the 1800s, and you could buy them $10 a piece, back in the 80s and 90s, and wish I had some of those still.
Yeah.
But I would go in there and just find amazing things. And I found this file in a pile of stuff out of, I don't know why I picked it, and I looked at it, and it had a bunch of clippings, but it had a horse print of all things that I thought I wanted. So I got the file for like, $1. And there, I looked through everything, and there was some interesting stuff. And there was a clipping that said, let's see, something about Gideon Bibles and suicides.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at it, and I went, put it in there, and put it in a drawer for 20 years. And so I did this, and then around 2000, I think, somewhere between 2000 to whenever, 2008, I looked through the file and was throwing everything away that I didn't really need or was going to sell what I, there was some interesting stuff. And I saw the Gideon Bibles and suicide thing, and I thought, what is that? And I looked at it, and it was the Reed House. And there was a suicide. It was in like 1950, 53. I forgot to look at the thing right now. My brain.
You want me to pull it up?
Well, when you do, we'll look and see. But there was this clipping in this file that I'd had all this time, and it was about this man had committed suicide in a room that didn't have a Gideon Bible. And they believed if you had Gideon Bibles in the rooms, you wouldn't have so much suicide. That's how all the Bibles end up in the hotel rooms. And they believed since he didn't have a Bible, that's why he committed suicide. And it gave his name. So
Are you ready?
Yes. So the Spirit did this at that time to lead me to it. That's it. Okay. No. Well, that's the date of the actual of 1952. But the clipping, the one you had on before, it's no hotel suicide since 1908 in rooms with Gideon Bibles. So I had that clipping. I still have that clipping. And I'd sat on it all that time. And then I went, and it gave his name, which was David K. Farrell. And he jumped out of the 7th floor. So now you can get the next picture. So they had all of this, man dies in 7th floor hotel plunge. And that's them putting him into the ambulance. Now, if I needed to figure out which room it was, I didn't have to guess long. Can you put the next one on, which is the hotel with the little dotted line coming down? And I was able to tell which window he came from because they had this in the paper. And so
that's very specific for a newspaper.
I thought, well, he's leading me there. This was all in the paper. So, and I got his death certificate. I think we have that. And where it says cause of death, it has a question mark. Now, if you went head first out of a window, I don't think there's much of a question.
Shouldn't be, but I think you have the picture of him. So I got a friend at the time, Storm Trinker, and another friend of mine, Sheila, and we went up. I rented the room, and we did a seance. Do you know? Are you finding him? I'm trying.
And Storm was able to look around and found a picture of him. Later, we didn't know all of it, until later. So I did a seance, and talked to him, and he had been there from out of town where he lived, doing doing business stuff. And he had been partying with these people named Butch and a girl named Carol that Butch had brought with him or found, locally. She was like a party girl. And he had been partying with them. And at the end of the week, they expected, he thought they were just partying and wanting to share. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the week, they wanted money. They were going to bamboozle them for money. And he was like, no, they were partying. I don't owe you any money. And they threatened him. And so later on, when the guy came to the room, he just whacked him in the head with a gun, took him and threw him out the window. And he lowered him out the window, and people from below, they saw the screen fall. They looked up, and he just very slowly came out flipped out, and landed on his back on the street. And they thought he committed suicide. Well, the spirit said that Butch killed him, and Carol helped. Carol was that. And during the seance, which I think the video may still be on YouTube, it's called The Secrets of the Reed House. You'll see it at a point where, when we were trying to do a real show, and it's really embarrassing. People walking, when you're walking down the hallways looking smart. But at a point in the seance, you could smell jungle gardenia. That was the perfume that Carol wore.
Oh gosh, I remember that perfume.
Yeah, and I got it after that. This is David K. Farrell, and he had partied with them, and then they expected him to give them. They were trying to blackmail him for some money, and he wasn't going to give it to them. So he didn't think they would really do anything. And they came back and Butch hit him in the head, took him and made an example of him, and popped the window screen out and lowered him up to the window and tossed him out. And the family, apparently, from what I was told, if it's, it's the family, were Catholic. So, they have a problem with suicides. So the problem he had was that when they took him home, they didn't, that one of his nieces that Storm had talked to, said that they didn't even bring the casket into the church. They left him in the hearse and did a ceremony, and then took him and buried him. And because it bothered the family that they thought he had committed suicide.
Yeah.
So he was able to communicate to me that, that was a problem. And then we were, Storm said that he had talked to one of the nieces, and they were glad to know that, because they said, because of course his parents long gone. But that was and then I was able to release him. Now, Carol and Butch, the characters, later on, Butch killed her in another incident, and then he got killed in like a rum running kind of thing, which was very common, in the mountains there.
Yeah.
So they didn't want to be released or go anywhere. They were fine. But I was able to release him, but that was the first kind of really unusual case where I had been magnetized to where that clipping came to me, which is basically apport. They can apport things, because now you cannot go. I will tell you, all right, try and go somewhere and find me a newspaper from 1950. You can't, unless you buy something off of a line, but you can't go and find a specific date one, because
it's all digitalized.
It's all digitalized. They're all gone. They didn't keep those anymore.
No.
And I have the clipping, and it has the back and everything. It's the original real deal. But it came to me, and I didn't even know I had it until it was time to do this. I wasn't ready back in '96 to do the work I was ready to do 20 years later. And so to me, it was just blew my mind how things magnetically come to you, or spirits will put in your way, so that they can talk to you. And I was able to release them, and then it was good. But it was one of those cases. It's like, you find out there's a ghost story. The people said, well, 7th floor is haunted. Well, that doesn't tell me which part. I would have to have gone up and found out. Well, I didn't have to, because I was led to it directly, not only given the name, given the map to find his spirit and find out, why it was unusual. But on the death certificate, it has a question mark. It does not say suicide.
Yeah, when you told me that, or had that, I was just like, oh my gosh. Yeah. They don't ever do that.
No, I didn't. I'd never seen that.
They'll at least take a shot.
And I'm like, well, if he jumped head first out of the window, that would have been,
Pretty
you know,
obvious.
pretty obvious. But apparently, I think they saw where he'd been hit in the head.
Hmm.
Or they thought some of the head injuries may have not, but they didn't put that into the thing. I can't tell
Right.
why they put a question mark, but my assumption is that's what gave them food for thought. But
Yes.
he was from out of town. But apparently, even Storm said that the family had the niece or whoever he talked to um, had said there was someone who worked in the company named Butch. So there was a Butch. Uh,
Okay.
so but I think Butch picked up the girl, locally, and they were partying, and I think he was trying to get something over on David, and David just wasn't going to do it. He wasn't going to pay him or do whatever, and you know they killed him. And but it was all very interesting. But that really got me into going that whether you can explain it scientifically, you know how did that happen? So but metaphysics is a science unto itself. So
Hmm.
I've had different things. I've gotten where I've started getting people to sign things, about what happened, like when a lady was looking for her daughter and thought her daughter had been missing for 3 months and thought she was dead in a ditch somewhere, and brought me her picture and some things. And I looked at it and I said, she's not dead. She's hiding out. And I reached into her energy field using everything has a tether. You have a tether. You have a
Hmm.
cord. Everything you touch, you have a little cord to. And I was able to use my energy to reach out to her energy, like making a cell phone call. And I reached around her skull, basically. I could see her aura. I reached around her skull and I said, call your mother. And I said, if she's going to call you, she'll call you within 2 weeks. And within
Yeah.
6 days, she called her out of the blue. She wasn't dead. She was just hiding. And then after that, her mother said they've been having lunches and getting back together. Um, so, it's a science, it's an understanding of energy, but it's not science in the way that we understand yet.
Right.
And not everything, science isn't all that. I mean, it should be, I think science should be very curious and should explore avenues. And I see ghost hunters who are being snobs right now going, well, psychics are not science. Well, what they're doing isn't science, I don't think.
No.
And, or science wouldn't acknowledge it. So, but they want to use the psychics and then want to use what the psychics have, but don't want to credit the psychic because they want it to look like they did it. And
Yeah.
so, so being a psychic is not all fun. It's very, I enjoy it. I love it. I adore it. I would never do anything else. But you have to learn, what, it's the thing, you have to, you just be really aware. Everyone wants to play a game, you know, and it's like, I'm not interested in playing a game. I'm interested
No.
in doing work.
Well,
And,
and
you know, and it's like, I would do a lot more work, but, like in my area, it's very cliquish
yeah.
and I don't have a lot of opportunities, and I've gone out of my way to find opportunities. And right now I'm working with Sin Trader Hill and Shaw Wooten on doing cold cases. And actually, we're
Hmm.
turning one in to the FBI this week.
Are you
That,
really?
yeah, it's pretty shocking. Because I, a lot of things with psychic, you have to understand your third eye
Hmm.
is what creates your electromagnetic field. So that electromagnetic field gets out and connects and listens to the bigger electromagnetic field. So when you are doing a cold case, you pick, I tortured myself and I said, let's do this. And so I made that we tried this and this started the whole thing.
Okay.
I said, each one of you pick a case, put it in a manila envelope. Don't tell me anything. Don't tell each other what you're doing. And, and put it in manila envelopes. Have three manila envelopes, one empty and one with each of your stories. Know which one, mark them on the bottom side that you know what they are, but not that where I can see them. And don't put the ones with information on top of each other so that it won't bleed into the other. So I said, and I will cold read those cases and see how we do. So we did that. And the first one, Sid had forgotten. She had picked it, but she hadn't read it all the way. So she put it in there, and that it was a learning curve. I had to learn, and so did she. So I said, if I fall, I fall. If I bounce, I bounce. So I said, this is how you learn. And before it was over, though, I got evidence out of both cases, out of both of those,
Oh,
and Shaw was holding it was putting the envelopes around doing something with them, and I correctly, without knowing I did it, I said, put Sin's down, yours, which was in her. I pointed to each one and correctly knew which one was which, and told her about some information in one of it. So it turned out very interesting. It was very cool, and so I can do the cold case stuff, cold reading that way.
mm-hmm.
But there was another case I had, and I brought it to them because I'm not good at looking up a lot of stuff and all that. I'm like, I'll tell you what I've got, but I need people to look up the other stuff. And I think that works better that way, details. But when I did the reading for the cold case, which is a child. I'm not going to tell the name. I'll tell you behind the scenes, about it. A apparently very big case, and something about it kept calling to me, and I got details. I got mileage. I got a place that was unexpected, and so I started working with them on that. And I had painted a picture in October of what the child could see from where they're buried, and I found it
Right. Is
exactly at
that
the exactly at
the
the
dark
mile.
one?
Um.
The dark one or the daylight one?
Oh, this is a light one. This is, I mean, this child. I'll tell you the details behind the scenes, but I had painted a
Right.
picture of
You want the
this.
one that you painted, or
No, we
the?
don't. We don't have it in here. We're not doing it. We're not putting that up right here because I'm
Okay.
sending all that to the FBI. But
Well, because we. Okay, I thought this is from when you did that investigation working with.
yeah, I think
Okay.
I've showed it to you before. It's
Uh-huh.
just that I'm holding off on it because I found the place exactly. I found what the child is looking at. I found the address. I
So,
have all of that, and then looking at it, there was clues that people have not they've missed in the evidence that is known. So this week we're sending all that off, and we're going to find out how that goes. But then the 17th, I'll be doing another cold case thing on Shaw's. Doing that because I love doing cold cases. But the ones that we did, I found, I'm finding out in this age, I'm getting better at mileage and finding, but if I see something and it's like, I don't know anything about cars, so I can tell
yeah.
you, I can say color or, unless it's not one of the things I've been in or been around, I'm just not a car person.
Right.
But I've got a couple that I'm thinking, we're going to put on blogs and let people look for those informations themselves if they want to. But
That'll
this
be
one,
fun.
I found something when I showed showed them where, the painting that I'd done, and then I showed them where it was and where I found it. They were like, "Oh my god!" So we're
Yeah.
sending it out this week because Mercury in retrograde is over tomorrow. So we're going to send it out and do it and see. And I feel very good about it. I feel
Yeah, but then we
good
go
about
into
that.
eclipse season, so that's going to be
Yeah.
fun.
And then also there's, I think, new direction the police could question people over that will, I think, will bring some, you know, bring some, maybe some peace or bring something closure. But I think out
Yes.
of it, but it's like, but anytime you deal with police or FBI or any of that, I've worked on cold cases before, brought evidence. I mean, because I brought evidence to one and they told me stuff afterwards, but they were like, but it's not, but basically they didn't feel like it would ever be bothered with. So, that's another thing as a psychic, you have to understand when you give things like that, sometimes they'll just throw it in the garbage. They won't even
Yeah.
look at it because you're a nut if you're a psychic. And looking at some psychics who've looked at cases, I can tell why they would think
Yeah.
that. And then there
Yeah,
are
I
people who
can
are
too.
really killingly good, and there are people who do work with them. And I would love to work on cases because I'm very much for the victim.
Yeah.
I'm
Or
a
having
survivor.
been one. Yes,
I've
of
been a
course you
victim,
are.
and now I'm a survivor. I've known people who were beautiful people who were murdered.
Hmm.
Um, and there are some people that are still, they'll never solve the cases because first the person is black or gay or something, or whatever it is in it that they just go, well, that, and two, the system is overloaded. They don't want to have to look. They don't want to have to do another job. And so I get it. But sometimes, they'll listen, and sometimes, things will come about. Um, and it isn't about credit, I mean, but the thing is, if you do something and it comes to a good conclusion, then it's important for other psychics because then if somebody does it right and it works, then that
Yeah.
means, well, maybe they'll listen to the next psychic, but then the next psychic needs to really be good.
Be doing a real thing.
They need to know what they're doing. And some of these people, I've listened to shows and I'm like, oh my, I'm like, oh. And
Yeah.
I mean, I know psychics, we know Till and people, there are people I go to when I need help or stuff, to talk to about stuff.
Yeah.
But then there are people who really that, they may have the foundation. They just need to tweak it and they
Yeah.
need to not be afraid. And
A lot of that is fear because they don't want to be wrong and then take it public.
no, but see, the thing is, if you trust yourself, you find out if you know what to listen to first.
Yeah.
First thing I hear, bam! I'm like a dog on a pork chop. I'm not gonna let it go.
Yeah.
And but you have to know your system. You have to know your system is working and picking up and processing. Now you may get that initial thing. It may need to be fleshed out, but then you have to, and since it's it's ethereal, some of it is you have to say, like with a cold case, you have
Mm-hmm.
thousands upon thousands of people sometimes aiming their energy thinking what they think it is. And so you have to pick through that energy. You have to pick through and then find the original energy. Try and find that trail. Try and listen to that information. Your system has to be able to process it. And, I mean, you got to know yourself.
Yeah.
And one psychic a while back, was like, well, you think you're confident. And I'm like, you have to be confident. I know my work. I know
You have to trust yourself.
I'm objective. I'm not an idiot. I'm
Yeah.
not an egotist. but I have to know my work and I have to know when to stand behind it. And if it's wrong, I would say, well, then I was wrong.
Yeah.
But
And
as
that's
you're
one thing
human,
about you is that you are willing to do that.
oh
But
yeah.
I also have to say, we're out of time.
Well, at least I said,
Thank,
well, yeah,
I could talk about this for days. So thank you so much for being here.
thank you for having me. And I was going to say for Sin coming up this weekend, she she has 2 books, Death's Doorstep, Near Death,
Yeah.
and Experiences Angel Rescues, and It's Not Goodbye #2. Because I did the covers
Yes.
and illustrations. She's doing her books. They're really good. So when
Yeah.
she comes, you can talk to her about her new books, and I'm going to drive her crazy
Yes.
with my new books.
All right. Well, thank you so much because I love talking to you and I love learning from you.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
and I know that our listeners love you too.
Well, I love
So,
thank you,
all right. So
and
we
I
will
love you.
catch y'all. Love you too. You're such a good friend. And thank you for that. So, everybody, have a great week. Come back Wednesday night on Paranormal Experience for Sin Schrader Hill, who is just amazing. Elkhorn Paranormal, a wonderful author, and really kind of fun. So, we'll see you then. Meanwhile, have a great week. Be blessed, and we'll catch you next time. Same cat time, same cat channel. Good night.
See